So let's go ahead. You guys start.
This is exciting. Thank you, Tilly. I'm so excited for today. For those of you who don't know Tilly, I've been lucky enough to get to work with her for a few months now, and she has mastered several different topics in real estate. But one that I'm so excited to learn is Section 8. So, Tilly, we're going to kind of talk about your background and how you got into real estate. I cannot wait to learn about Section 8 and how it benefits realtors and homeowners and even tenants and home buyers and all of that process. But to kind of get started, who was Tilly before real estate? How did you get into the real estate space? Tell us about.
So you guys know I've done everything. So let's see. The most of my life I was in restaurants. So I worked in restaurants and I moved like basically from waitress, cocktail waitress, bartender, um, manager, service manager, bar manager, every management position. Then I became a chef. So I also am a chef and as a personal chef, and I worked in people's homes. But became a yoga teacher. Then I owned a yoga studio. So anything that I've ever like done, I've loved, and I also everything. I was a teacher, a trainer, a coach for an operations in any of those realms. So I've learned how because I've had so many hats. Because a lot of people like you've changed your position so many times you can't be really good at anything. I've actually been able to take that medium, no matter what it is, and transfer it into whatever I'm doing currently. So with real estate, all of those things I've done in the past really help me, right? Being a yoga teacher makes me more gracious with people I get more rewarded when I do nice things for people because of being a yoga teacher, right? Being a restaurant manager and operations in the kitchen helps me because I know kitchens and homes and operations of things, so if a breaker goes out or something's happening on the roof, even in a restaurant, the managers have to deal with roofing issues, plumbing issues, things like that. So that's all has to do with real estate. Also being a business owner before I was this business, that helped me. So everything I've ever done has prepared me for this. And then about me personally, and I don't talk about this all the time, my childhood up to about 12 was not very good. And I don't need to go into all the details, but I went through very traumatic experiences as a child, and I was more of an adult as a child than I was a kid. I kind of raised my parents and my brother. They are not with us anymore. And then my mom's sister adopted me, and I went into a whole other world of she's an attorney and she's very like driven. And so I went from like two different paths, but that also kind of created what Tilly is. I also used to live in government housing when I was a little girl. So that gives me empathy towards people that are on Section 8.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. It is amazing how your environment can have you have different perspectives. And for you to have such extremes, you're like, I understand coming from here, and also understand the strategy behind running a business and being successful. That's beautiful.
Thank
Okay,
you.
how did you, so Section 8 for me, when I hear that, I'm like, ooh, like that just sounds like there's the government involved and it sounds stressful or it sounds messy. How did you get into that space? And is it what it sounds like, or is it something that we should actually pay attention to?
So I've chatted this before, but if Laura, you want to chat this, how many families in Texas last year used Section 8 for housing? Whether it was rentals or chat will tell you it's a lot just in Texas.
Oh, let me look it up.
Yeah. So Section 8, so with my real estate career, my very first, I owned a yoga studio. It closed down during COVID. My best friend was a realtor and she was an apartment locator with Smart City. Her husband is a multi-generation, commercial family. And he's a broker. So she's like, we're going to pay for you to go to real estate school because we're so sick of you talking about never having any money. So they paid for me to go to Champions. And so I went and did it during COVID, like right after COVID, where we still had to wear the masks and be far apart from each other about 5 years ago. And so we started our own rental business, just me, her, and him. We had no mentorship. Worked at Smart City maybe 5 months, and I was the Houston rental person. She was Austin, and we just did all word of mouth with an Instagram and a crappy little website. And so I taught myself how to do real estate, and I started in the rental sphere. Okay. Kind of took a break from real estate, and then I got pulled over to KW Metropolitan. So I worked at KW Met, and that's where I met Lacey Lugo. Lacey Lugo is known for Section 8, known for rentals. And so she found out what my background is, and she scooped me up real quick. And so I started working for her, and then I came in and helped with systems, operations, training the virtual assistants, follow up boss. I can do inside and out on the admin side. And so I really kind of helped her build her business, and we ran it for about 2 years. And she did Section 8, and that's how I learned. And since I had been in Section 8 when I was a child, it was easy for me to have these conversations with people because, yes, the people, a lot of times the people you're working with are not who maybe you want to work with, but it's still money. Did you get the number, Laura?
Yes, she typed it in 2.2 to 2.3 million on section
People.
people.
Households are use Section 8.
Okay, times 2,000. Let's just pretend it's rentals.
It
That's
says
like average two bedroom.
it said that um about 6% of the rental market uses of all renters use it.
Wow.
And the US about so that's the number of households. So there's 2.2 to 2.4 million households or rental units, being single family or apartments that are using Section 8 to rent those.
So times 2,000, let's just say it's an average two bedroom. Most of them, there's not a lot of one bedroom Section 8 voucher holders. Most of them have families. So they're two to
Mm-hmm.
three bedroom usually. So two to 2,500 because they don't give a big budget, which is also something we can talk about. So that's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
per
So
year.
you're either going to get 50% if it's a rental, or you're going to get with the apartments that I worked with, they give us 100% to rent when we place a Section 8 voucher holder. Again, with rentals, it's going to take you 3, 6, 9 months sometimes to get paid for those. But if you have them constantly coming in, I was with Lacey when I first started because I wasn't teaching and training and coaching, kind of running the team. I was placing 3 to 5 people a day.
Oh my gosh. Okay, how does that work? You're reaching out to them, or they just know that you're the go-to, and then do they have to go look at apartments, or do you have to go show? How does that process look like?
I didn't go anywhere. I did it from the desk. Like if it was a private rental, I did go, right? And so again, that's not those are those future homeowners, you know what I mean? Because they want a house, right? And a lot of times those houses that they are renting, they will when they can do all the things, which we'll talk about that too, and maybe not today, it could be another discussion. There are a lot of steps they have to go through and classes and things, and the same with the landlords to become a Section 8 homeowner. And lending has to learn how to do that and how to navigate it. So it is a little bit of work. But once you get that person in the house, that owner, a lot of times they're investors, right? So they have bought 5, 10 condos in a condo developments, and they all take Section 8. They don't want to keep it. They want that money every month, and then that we get that Section 8 rental client to the home ownership sector, right? And then we turn them into homeowners, and they just buy that house they're already living in because they can transition from the rental to purchasing that same place they're living in. So even if I'm only getting 50%, right, to the rent, it's an investment in the future of that person and me.
That's amazing. How many of y'all knew that Section 8 people could buy houses? Like I had no idea that you could use that voucher and invest it into. Okay, so you were talking about how they have to, be prepared. There's classes involved. They've got to be educated. They have to qualify. This might sound tacky. I bought a house in a not great area and I flipped it and it's been sitting on the market because either that price point's too high or people don't qualify. And so I've been thinking about, this would be a great Section 8 because it's 4 to 5 bedrooms. But then I'm also like, okay, well, if they don't have any money, maybe they won't take care of my house, or maybe they're riskier, or maybe there's a situation where they're going to trash it and I won't be able to get the deposit back. But it seems like if they are backed by the government and they've taken classes, maybe they're better tenants sometimes than regular tenants.
So basically, and I'm going to read because I took notes. I haven't memorized this. So basically, they need to be a first-time home buyer, no ownership in the last 3 years, which most of these families are, right? A lot of times, they're single mothers that have been through a bad situation and they're just trying to fix their lives, right? They have to earn about 1,450, 500 annually. They have to have at least a 640 credit score. Okay. Now to get prepared for this, they go to their caseworker, they go to, the housing authority and say, I want to be part of the home ownership program. And they're like, okay, this is how the way to qualify and start taking these classes. And some of these classes are credit building classes. So the housing and urban development creates these things for them to prepare themselves so that they are ready to buy a home. Okay, they have a minimum credit score 640, be employed for with the same job for over 1 year, so they can't just not work. Okay, qualify for a mortgage through a lender, and that lender needs to know because I've had someone come to me, they were done everything else, and they said, I found a LO. Okay, does that LO know how to do home ownership? No. Okay. They also have to qualify. They have to take a class or there's some requirements for them. Same with the landlord. The landlord needs to take a class on what homeownership is and how to do it. And that house better be FHA inspection qualified because that's how tough their inspections are. And every year there's another inspection. Even in the rentals, they inspect that apartment once a year. The housing does before they'll renew for them. And so they already said the complete home buyer program. Now this one, the rentals, they can pretty much use forever. Like if they qualify and they get the voucher for rental. But for home ownership, it's a 15-year program.
Wow. That's amazing. And then as far as like someone who owns a house and they want to start renting it out to Section 8 tenants, is that a really daunting process or is it something you could do over a summer?
I think so, because you just have to take the class, right? There are things you have to provide to the housing authority. That's kind of personal information. So you've got to give them like the deed, all your social security information. Like there's a lot of personal information that goes into what's called the packet that has to be filled out for them to qualify. If you are renting, usually those homeowners are not going to give it to say, I'm going to go and put a Section 8 person in a house. Like, Amanda, you want to rent your house, and you want to be a Section 8 rental, like landlord. You've got to take a class and you don't want me to come and do your RFTA paperwork, which is the tenancy paperwork, because you're gonna have to give me your social security information, deed, all that stuff. You're gonna have your listing agent, or if you're the listing agent, have all that stuff prepared to be able to give to housing. Okay, so there are things that landlords are like, no, I'm not gonna give you my social security information. They don't realize what personal information you have to provide to be able to be a landlord. So there's a class that you take, and it's not that hard. It's like I think it's like they do them all the time. They're like 2 hours, I think, and you just go to the housing authority and you take a class on what to do to be the landlord.
Does it matter what area? Are there certain areas that are zoned for low income?
It's not low income. There's heights can be Section 8. So
Okay.
basically, yeah, so there's tiers. There are the called tiers or rent estimators by zip code. Every state's different. And just so y'all know, I've done all of Texas. So I've done Austin, San Antonio, Dallas, or I know agents that do it. I've trained agents in Chicago, California, and Florida how to do this. Okay. So it is something that you can go all over the United States, and every housing authority is totally different, and they want different things, and the paperwork's different. So you've got to be able to learn that stuff. But what was your question again? Because I
I
lost
was
train.
just curious if there were geographic restrictions
Yes.
for where the houses could be
So
located.
there's tiers. So like for instance, Houston Housing Authority, which I just changed to Housing Alliance or something like that, they go by tier. So tier A and the tier B, T A1, A2, B, C, D. A's are supposedly the better areas of town with the better schools. Again, you cannot steer them, right? So when I'm speaking to a client, I'll be like, is there a zip code you prefer? And they're like, well, I don't want to live where there's a lot of crime or whatever. And I'm like, you're welcome to go ahead and do a crime report of that area to see what's going on. But traditionally, the A's, where they give you more money because you need more money to live there. And there's Montrose Heights, like all the nicer areas. Now, that doesn't mean there's going to be any properties that allow it. It just means that the city will pay in those areas. So there are not really restrictions. It's not in just, you know, the tier D areas, which, it's everywhere in Houston. And there's Houston Housing Authority and Harris County Housing Authority and Rosenberg Housing Authority, Baytown. There's Galveston. They have different housing authorities according to their zip codes. So I've placed people in Katy all the time.
Okay. Interesting.
Um,
But
So
There has to be the properties or the multi-units that will do it,
Right.
right? But then there's restrictions, and so I've had to memorize those. I know which apartments take 550 credit score, which takes six. What the background. We do background checks on everybody. I use Forewarn for that. You could do a real background check, but I usually just for it to be. And I ask them, and if they lie, they lie. They don't pass. They paid their admin fees, and they don't pass, and they don't get placed. But some of these apartment complexes are really picky about who they'll take because they've had bad or they have a quota. They only take 10 Section 8 and then they fill it up.
Is there
Where,
a price?
go ahead.
I'm sorry, Laura. Like, will they say I'll pay your rent up to $2,000, or if they're moving into like the city in a fun area, can they get up to $3,000, or does it pick? How do they
It
pick?
de it depends. So and there's different programs within the housing authority. So the Houston Alliance or Housing Alliance, whatever it's called now, they have a program within it. It's called the mobility program. Okay. The also just so you know, these people only have 90 days to find something. Okay. And so you're on a timeline. Okay. But with apartments, people usually pick the first three. You know what I mean? So you have a timeline. Uh, what was the question? Why did I keep going off track?
Oh, that's okay. Like, is there a max price point? Like,
Oh yeah.
could I
So
underwrite
they
an
get
investment property as a high rental, or mostly just the more affordable ones?
depending on what how much money they have coming in personally, they have either a zero tenant portion or they will pay a portion, right? So depending on their income. And so it's all based on income. So the housing authority will pay up to a certain amount. It's the total rent. And then it has to cover the rent, right? It can't just pay part of the rent. It has to cover the whole rent. But then there's a tenant portion that they're responsible for. A lot of these people, if they have zero. So that means when you apply and it's three times the rent, it's three times zero. Or they have a $120 tenant portion. So it's three times that. Now you have to also factor in that they have to be able to pay their amenity fees, their electricity. Like that doesn't get paid for. But some of the programs and I work with some women's shelters that there's six actually women's shelters I work with that they actually will pay for their rent, their utilities, their everything just to get them back on their feet because they've been through a domestic situation. I've also had men that are in those domestic situations. You got to have a strong soul to be able to work with these people. Just FYI, if you're very sensitive about things like this, it's a tough business
Mhm.
because I've kind of been through it. And then I can speak to it with some of these people. I mean, I've had people cry and praise the Lord and stuff for me coming to their lives and helping them. You know what I mean? So it's a very rewarding space. And it's not always perfect. You know what I mean? There's always someone that's going to mess things up, so they're not always perfect. And then there's a lot of people that just trying to fix our lives, you know?
So you earlier, I'm trying to think about like the average realtor, like what they're thinking about. Why would I want to go into this? I also recently placed somebody in an apartment that was a referral, and at first I didn't want to jack with it at all because I was like, I don't know anything about this. I've done a couple apartment searches through EXP's Porch Light program, but this was a random. But they paid me a full month's rent as commission, and I was like, wow, I think I'd rather put people in apartments than houses now. Is that pretty common? Like, what percent of the apartments pay a full month's rent? And do any landlords on Section 8 pay you a full month, or do you only make a half on houses?
So houses traditionally are the 50%, but if you get a person with that mobility voucher, they give the landlord a 150% to rent like a bonus for doing it because these are people. It's an interesting program, and we can talk about it another time. But what I would do with that is I would say if you're going to get this 150% to rent bonus, and I'm going to place this person, then I can you please pay me 100% instead of 50%.
Okay.
You can negotiate that. Um,
Okay.
and then with the apartments, I just search for the ones that pay 100%. You know what I mean? Like I have an apartment search engine that I go through, and there's actually more than one. And I find the ones that pay 100%, but you always have to call and double check because those can be, outdated. You just call, and I have a database. I keep track of my CRM of all the apartments I've called, and I keep notes of who takes what, and I put tags so I can run tags on which zip codes and what areas of town take Section 8 if they pay, if they don't, if I have to escort, because sometimes you always have to ask that, because sometimes it'll say no escort, but you do. So
So
just
you
there's,
you just mean you accompany them to do the
yep,
showing of the
yep,
apartment?
yep.
Wouldn't you rather not do that so that you don't have to go to as many showings and you still like you were saying you worked from your desk. So how often do you have to go to the apartment with the people?
I'm telling you, in a year, I probably went on 3 showings.
Okay. And where typically, other than if you're plugged into like a team or a group that focuses on this, where would the average realtor seek the renter leads on these kind of programs? Like where are they coming from? Like how are they going to call? How am I going to get these people?
I'm getting them now just because I've been doing it for a while. You know what I mean? I'm not part of that team anymore. I don't have access to any of those leads anymore, and that's fine because people are still finding me some way.
Okay.
So it's funny because Tyler Lee, who works with Jeff, he has one of my old voucher clients because I've been mentoring and helping him because he has some voucher clients, and so it's funny because he's like, "Do you remember this person?" And I was like, "Oh, I can't forget that name." And I said, "Tell her I said hi," and I'm helping him. And she's getting a house this time, and she has that mobility voucher, which is a great voucher to have. But she had with the mobility, you only have 30 days. So this is something that it really takes some time to memorize, and you've got to work towards it, or reach out to me. I'm happy to help because and then Tyler and I are like, we'll figure it out down the road. Maybe he'll throw me a little bit of a percent of something for mentoring him. Um, but it is, yeah, you can get 100% to rent and it happened in 3 months. And but another 3 months to get paid because the housing authority is not going to pay you until they get their money. And sometimes it's the government, you guys. It takes the time. But like I said, if you've got them always going and cycling, you just get checks. I was getting checks like every week, just little ones, but I was getting checks every week and I wasn't going anywhere. And it's a lot of admin, a lot of typing and calling and stuff. But I mean, Laura, I know you have virtual because somehow I got into your virtual CRM and I've been getting messages from you. Hi,
Good.
when you want to go look at some properties? I mean, no, I was just trying to talk to Laura.
Love it.
Anyways, but yeah, you can use your CRM or your virtual assistant. Sorry, I've got maintenance guys blowing around outside. I hope that's not too bad.
Okay.
Uh, uh, he's right in front of my place. Hurry up, dude. Yeah, so we had VAs helping us. They would answer the phones, they would qualify them, they would ask all the questions. You can get a virtual assistant or a virtual AI bot answering service that can ask all those questions for you, the basic, intake questions. And they're real easy. There's just a little more you ask with vouchers than you would with a regular rental. So it's not a regular rental intake.
This is a huge opportunity for people who are like, I have kids, or I want to work from home, or I don't want to go travel a whole lot. And with EXP, I mean, you're licensed in all of Texas. And so couldn't you do like educational videos on Section 8 and then do that lead capture and research all those apartments and do it from all over the state?
That's what I want to do. And what my vision always was to have a learning development software system that basically has, six, lesson plans, and you've got to go through each one recorded by me. And then I have quizzes that you've got to pass them. And then I'm like, yeah, you got to pay to do that. You're going to pay a fee, just like champions pay, for a class or something, that you pay a fee to take these six, classes, pass the quizzes. Now, learning development softwares are expensive, but then there would be like a chat in the bottom where if you needed instant help, you could chat me and it sends me a text or a message where I can give you personalized help. But like I'm telling you, I have trained over 30, 40 agents. I didn't hold on to a lot of them because it is hard work, but I did have some of those moms that worked from home and people that couldn't leave or they were caretakers of their family or something like that. And they did well at it. You just got to have that lead pool coming straight through. So, we would use affordablehousing.com to advertise. You can get a Facebook group or something to advertise. There's or they'll you can go to the housing authority. There's a thing called the landlords room there where you could, if you like Amanda, if you wanted to do that property that we talked about, you can put flyers in the landlords room. So whenever they get their voucher, they have a orientation intake and they go in the landlord's room and then they go and they see the flyers and they will take your flyer and then their QR code or whatever, they'll get in touch with you. And that's kind of where our lead pool came from. Also, you put on hr.com and there's a way to under lease option, the drop down for Section 8. So you
Mhm.
can search. So if you put your house on, then, and I've taught many Section 8 clients how to do the search themselves on HAR.
We need to look and see if how many EXP listings have Section 8 because we can all advertise each other's listings. So we could go create social media ads and stuff that here's a list of all the Section 8 available houses from our brokerage, and you could just market other people's properties for right now.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, it's you got to weed through these people. They're a little tough. So again, I've navigated. I would speak to 90 clients a day. You know what I mean? And I'm telling you,
That all had vouchers or they were trying to get vouchers, which
it was a mix because if you're
okay.
advertising, then they think you're the housing authority. How do I get a voucher? But then once we turned on our AI bot, she'd filter through that, like the phone answering service.
Yeah.
And she would filter through that, or my virtual assistants would also do it. And so I didn't get leads until they were viable.
Okay.
You
Well,
know, so
Loretta on here asked, do you use a Section 8 website to find properties for your clients, or are you just doing the MLS and then adding that Section 8 filter?
I use MLS and add the Section 8 filter. And with rentals, I know by heart. Or I do that also in the apartment data services or the smart apartment data. They have a checkbox for the Section 8 too, where you can, but you still have to call to make sure that they still are taking, because again, some of them only have to take 10 and they're full. There's
Right.
even senior living facilities that take Section 8.
Oh, wow.
Is that because they're not on Medicaid yet?
They probably are on Medicaid. Most of them are on SSI and Medicaid and they're disabled.
And then that's
Um,
just extra money for them, or is it?
so just so you know, it takes 5 to 7 years on a wait list to get a Section 8 voucher.
Oh,
And
wow.
there is no wait list right now. It's full and it's been full. Now you can get an emergency voucher, say if you're homeless, you can get an emergency voucher. There are homeless like shelters that you can go to and say you want help with housing and you can get an emergency voucher if you're homeless.
Do-
There's also vouchers for say you were in a domestic situation, right? If it's happened within the last year. For the six I'm involved with, it has happened in the last year and in Texas, and there would have to have been criminal charges pressed for them to be able to go ahead and go into the shelter, stay there until we find them a home, and then the shelter pays for them for a year and sometimes it pays for everything, for their electricity, for everything, for them to be placed for a year.
Wow. So I know you talked about like you struggled with once you found out, okay, I can use this voucher to educate them on how to buy a house with this voucher, which is huge because homeownership is the American dream. You struggled with finding a lender who was either qualified or educated enough to process that. How do you find a lender? Do you just ask your favorite lender and then hope that they know? Or how hard was it to find a lender who understood Section 8?
So I believe, because I'm not with my old team anymore, but I believe Roby Chapa with America's Best Lending is trained because I sent him all the information on how to be trained. Again, I don't have that email anymore, so I can't go back and get that information. But I sent it to his team. I don't know if he ever placed this person. I can reach out to him, or I can, maybe talk to the LO that came to the last meeting. I forget his name. That was with America's Best Lending. Remember, I asked him in that meeting at Coffee and Collaboration if he knew how to do Section 8, and he said no. But Roby does.
Okay.
So, but yeah. Yeah, Roby does. So reach out to him. I think it's Robie.
Okay.
But reach out to him. And I think his team knows how to do it because usually it's a lot of work. But then we did have a loan officer that was doing it and she kind of stepped away from it because they're trying to take away the homeownership program currently. But they haven't had really good luck doing it. There's so many people in it. It would be so much litigation and stuff to be able to take that away, like the government funding for it. They're also targeting the voucher system, but that's still, again, you're going to put how many families? 2 million families on the street. Yeah, that's not smart. Yeah. So it's still a viable business, but I think some of our LOs had stepped away. Now there was an LO I knew of that was in new construction that was doing it because there's so many new constructions out there that they're still empty. So there's some new construction there's some lenders. I just have to go digging and find them. Because again, I'm kind of having to start over with this, but I do have the knowledge base.
That's incredible. Okay, so speaking of kind of starting over, for people who are listening to this and they're like, oh my gosh, I would love to work from home and I would love to help these people in the middle of this thing that they're going through in life, but it is a whole new world. Like it's something that you don't really learn going to Champions and doing your real estate classes for. is the juice worth the squeeze? Like, how long did it take you to really master this? Or do you think that once you find a mentor and do a few under your belt, you can get a flow?
It took me about 6 months because I was basically teaching myself, but as I was teaching myself, I was creating a curriculum because whenever I'm teaching myself something, I make notes because I'm better with a checklist. You know
Right.
what I mean? Like I need actual checklist, and so I created an SOP for myself, but that turned into a training tool. So it wouldn't take 6 months. I think it would just take 2, 3 months. Okay. And really the best thing is just get on the phone and talk to these people and then just use my SOPs. You know what I mean? And or create your own in chat. It's not that hard. You know what I mean? Like chat really like before this meeting, I spent about 30 minutes just because I was like, oh man, I might not have all the answers. Just like asking chat, just different questions. And I even started to create a presentation. I was like, this is cool. You know what I mean? And it in 30 minutes, I have like ten slides on my presentation just because of the knowledge I already knew. So I just need to create it and stylize it better. But I think in 2, 3 months you can learn it. But what I like the best is to be in a room with my people and they listen to me on the phone with these conversations for 2, 3, 4, 5 conversations, and then they start making those phone calls.
That's
Because it's just like a rental. If you can do a rental, you can do a Section 8. There's just a couple extra things you're going to ask. And you do need their paperwork. You need their voucher and their like documents. And
Do you
yeah, go ahead.
do you think that the majority of these people are like on permanent disability and that's their limiting income factor, or are they out of work and they're only going to be on Section 8 and qualify for the voucher for a few years? Like, what do you see as far as the profile? Because I'm just interested in that because what I'm reading and I just, because I was looking at the housing, how to convert to purchasing, and there are definitely income limits. So it's almost like they have to balance between staying in their low paying job. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know
It
that's
is.
kind of an awkward question to ask, but I'm the awkward person who asks the questions.
No, and it is awkward, and it is awkward because you're getting in these people's personal lives,
Mhm.
right? Like to at a way deeper level than you do with a home ownership or anything. You know what I mean? Like you're really getting into their personal lives. Um, you just have to learn how to navigate it. These people are all different. They're all streams. I've got people that are 21 on it.
I mean,
You know,
are they all, do the majority of them stay on these vouchers for like decades, years?
and some don't want to. They don't
Okay.
like it because they're treated a certain way because there is this stigma about being a voucher holder and they come to an apartment and the leasing agents are mean to them. I mean, I've
Oh,
heard horror stories of how they're being treated and they're also very like, poor me sometimes, you know what I mean?
yeah.
Uh, but there is a lot of mistreatment of Section 8 voucher holders and they do want to get out of the system. They want to stop taking food stamps. They want to take care of themselves. They want to take care of their children. They don't want to create this legacy for their children where they continually are, needing help, and they're treated a certain way. So there was a lot of bias and stuff that I
Just
had
like
to
a
navigate.
stigma. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
And then some of them they will destroy a house or an apartment, you know?
Which is why a lot of landlords, that's what I actually am glad you brought that up because that was actually going to be one of my questions to you. I went down this rabbit hole with a landlord, kind of like Amanda. Like I had a property that I thought actually I had a lot of calls on it. Do you take Section 8? So I talked to the landlord about it. I didn't really know a lot. I probably Googled it at the time, and that was the landlord's feedback was I'm afraid to take Section 8 because I don't want my house torn up. And again, we're just real talking here, but it's like how is there a way to mitigate against that if we're trying to like because I've been doing more rentals, it would open up their market to and it's sure pay, right? That's the benefit to the landlord, right?
right.
Oh yeah, they get paid on the second of the month direct deposit to their account
Yeah.
That's a dream.
every month.
Can they
Um,
go in and do you recommend like they go in and inspect maybe? Is that the thing? Like do you
well,
regular
it's getting inspected annually by the housing authority anyways.
no, so the renter knows that. That's
Yeah, so
good.
there's a lot of rules around it. And then if you are mistreated as a landlord, you can get them evicted. Who wants to do that? But if they get evicted with their voucher, they lose it.
Oh,
Maybe they
Yeah,
would.
and then there's no wait list. They will lose it and they're on the street because or they have to figure out their life. So there's rules. They can't everybody that it lives in the house has to be on the voucher. There can't be some random person that just comes and lives in it. Like your uncle can't come live with you. He has to be on the voucher, or you can lose your voucher. So they inspect, they check in on them, they're keeping track of things. So they have to, you know what I mean? It also, and I don't know why I wish the housing authorities did background checks, but that's why you have to make sure you do a background check to make sure that their background. And then there's rules around that too. Like I don't suggest that, some landlords will take people that have felonies and things like that. But you want to be careful of, your property and, that's why you want to run a background check, have an honest conversation with these people. If something does pull up, find out what it is. If it's something that's been dismissed, they can go to the court and get a dismissal letter, and then usually that's suffice because it could have been a domestic situation where a woman was protecting her child, right? And then she gets the same charges as the man or vice versa, and then but there's a dismissal letter. And so you know that it was dismissed and she can go to the court and get that dismissal letter. And I've had that done before because you're gonna see a different side. And also there's just normal people on it.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And I had a woman from New York. She was just like a elderly woman, and she had a voucher in New York, and she moved to Austin because her kids are techies and they have like have big tech jobs. And she got this brand new apartment in Austin, and they even gave her more money in Austin than they did in New York, which was really surprising. And so she's living her best life. She's just an older woman on Section 8. Like it's just so you've got to learn how to navigate. That's why I think it's best like if I'm there with you guys in the beginning to kind of help you learn how to have the discussions and the conversations, and then also say it in a. I've had people that I've denied, and they're still thanking me because I gave them resources because I know the resources out there to help them if they've been denied, right? And denial means something was in their background or something where I cannot find them a place, And then I'll say, findhelp.org is a great resource. This is a great resource. This is a credit repair service that's free. Like I would give them all these tools. And then at the end, they're like, how can I leave a good review for you on Google? After I denied them. You just have to be able to know how to navigate those situations, and everyone is different. I can't tell you. It was like I never knew what I was going to be walking into with these conversations, but it's really taught me how to be on the phone with people, no matter who they are. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
So I feel like to me, what I picture being a really great avenue for us to take with this would be to like marry Tilly with some of our investor guys and girls that are helping either wholesale and find deals off market to do buy and holds, and maybe have a class for them to educate them about how to get into Section 8 with their listings, or even the wholesalers know enough about it to maybe help them convince the end buyer that this would be a great Section 8 property. And then Todd on the DL texted me a really good idea would be to incorporate some renter education into that, into when you're bringing the renter, the Section 8 renter into the house, and provide them with either a handout, a flyer, an orientation. Like, this is how you're expected to take care of this house. You're going to have this annual inspection from the housing authority, and this landlord is also going to do, let's call it like quarterly inspections. And these are the very clear guidelines, and you don't leave it to like read your lease and do your inventory and condition form, but you actually have almost like a little, like they're taking a class to get the HUD voucher anyway, but then you're adding another layer of protection on that. And then there's a lot of these landlords, these investors that I feel like if they were going into it the right way, this sounds like a really nice, promising way to get rent, depending on the market area.
I read somewhere that if in certain areas, the city will actually, let's say I buy an ugly house and I promise to Section 8 rent it out, they will actually give me money to fix up the house and make it better. And so I think that there's some really cool programs for flippers to go, hey, I can buy this, and then the government's going to help me. I mean, they might not pay for all of it, but they're going to help me fix it up, and then I'm going to have a guaranteed rent paid every single month. I think that that's a huge business plan that we're missing out on.
I'm telling you, I'm gonna tell you, Lacey was brilliant with this. Like when she found this is when, all the interest rates freaked out and all that stuff. And she had a multifamily background. And she basically was like, how can I find out money? And someone told her about Section 8. And then she did the research for how much. It was like $53 million in like 2004, 2024 was given out for Section 8. And she's like, no one's learning this. You know what I mean? And then, there's a couple of other agents. So one of our the KW Met agents that I worked with Lacey, she's doing it over at KW. She's still doing it and teaching classes and there's that I think that each real estate agency should have a specialist that knows how to do this and why not get that money and then do it the right way, Laura, like you're saying, like, have classes and teach the landlords and then that inspection every 4 months is excellent idea because but then also, maybe we teach, like we get all of our Section 8 clients that we've placed, and we do like a quarterly credit. How is your credit? Let's teach you how to, and then we get our credit people in, and they can come in and help them build that credit so they can go to the homeownership.
Hmm.
Let's help them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they are just getting dumped like out into the world, and actually they're the Section 8, like housing doesn't even really teach or navigate them. They don't give them resources. Like I
Right.
was a resource and I was digging for resources and more resources to help them because there's some people that maybe have some debt like they owed because they had a landlord that got mold in their house and then they left and then now that landlord's charging them for that debt. I want to find a debt service that wants to help people. And there's nonprofits that do it. And there's one out of Dallas. They do Dallas and Austin where they will pay off that debt. And it's like Amazon's part of the owners, and there's other people like that give money to this nonprofit, and they will come in and help people with that. But I'm still working on pooling in all those resources to help these people because no one's helping them. And some of them, like I said, they're not perfect. But I also think the housing authority needs to do background checks before they give these out to people. Really, honestly, Dallas does. Dallas does a background check before you can get a voucher. So there's certain.
I'm sorry, I didn't know you.
It's okay.
And then I also feel like the other arm of this is that whole apartment situation, which is totally off of like 99% of realtors' radars. And I think that we need to come up with some kind of something we can teach on that and help realtors. And maybe I don't know if you've talked to the people from our Revenos, EXP's Revenos that do the porch light. The way I found out about it is I just got a random call from the lady who runs Revenos, and she was like, "Hey, we've got this porch light program. It's for employers that are moving, that are relocating their people, but they're renting." And I was like, "Okay, fine." And then you just do like they pay you for a half day rental tour. And so I wonder if you and I need to like hook up. So because you have apartment background, we can talk about that, but then we can talk about the Section 8 thing. And I think there's opportunities because you're getting paid a whole month commission. I'll put people in an apartment for $2,000. I don't have a problem with that.
Laura, come on, let's have a meeting.
Does anybody else? I mean, Amanda might not want to do it, but she'd refer them out because what's cool about the referrals too, Tilly, is like even if I paid you a 25% referral fee to help me or something, I'm still making 75% of 1 month. You know how many, especially starting realtors, especially in Houston, does anybody know, like Amanda, how much do apartments cost in Houston nowadays?
Or at least $2,000 for a nice
No,
one.
way
Yeah.
more than that. Way more than that, y'all. I
This
live
and
in
this
I live in Montrose. For a two-bedroom, it's like $2,700.
That's
Yeah,
wild.
so Amanda, I think for a lot of our newer agents, if we could offer this until we could help teach them and like take a mentorship referral fee on this, I think we're missing a big. If I'm going to do rentals, I'd rather do this apartment thing than houses all day long. I don't have to show anything and you just give me a month's rent.
Same, Lauren. I actually don't even really, sorry, everybody. I would love to mentor Section 8, but I don't really want to work in that anymore. I'd rather do rentals, luxury, and luxury rentals. Like that's
Yeah.
where I want to be. And that's I'm selling this listing. You guys send me energy to this listing. This listing that's the 749. We just dropped it, but Kristen's been helping me with it because she just popped a listing around the corner for 300,000 less. I was like, "What are you doing?" And we talked about it. She's like, "Yours is listed correctly. It is a different beast. I was like, okay. But anyways, so yeah, I want to be in the loop, and this is where I live, and I will stay with rentals. I don't necessarily want to do, I will mentor and teach and coach Section 8. It is good. It's just tough. And I think it's for the younger agents that want to work a lot and are new and want to learn things, and those people that like want to stay at home and can't they a reason they need to stay at home because literally it's just phone calls all day. But the leads have to come in, and we can get the leads. You just they all they there's plenty of Section 8 people that are not getting any help out there.
I love that once you get them in that apartment, you can then teach them how to buy a house. Because, like, I just had, funny enough, like one of my babysitters, she was like, before I had my baby, she's like, I wanted to buy a new construction house. This was before I knew her. And she's like, and the salesperson was like rushing me, and they said I have to buy it like quickly. And the lender didn't have any like programs, and they wouldn't teach me anything. And they told me I couldn't have an inspection because I didn't have time for that. And she's like, it just felt very stressful. And so I just went to rent for another year. And now she's like, okay, after a year, I'll be able to buy. But she didn't know, like the things that we do every day, we take for granted. They don't know anything about credit or what their rights are or how they have inspection periods or how you don't have to have 20% down and a 720 to buy a house. Like they think that there's all these things that they have to do and they've got to have all this money. And I think that if we could place them in like high end apartment and they're safe and they find the city that they love and they find their groove and then educate them on it's not so hard to buy a house and there are programs out there and there are vouchers and grants and all kinds of cool stuff. That's almost like you're going to create such an opportunity that you'll never have to go look for clients because they're going to come to you because you're offering something that no one else offers.
And then Tilly, we could help you build out your CRM and put them on a campaign. And then if you're like, for instance, Bold Trail, you can share your campaigns with people. So you could even like mentor an agent and get a referral fee or a split off of them for teaching them. And then you could actually share your campaign with them as part of that service that you're offering. I'm happy to help you on that. I don't know how,
Well,
what,
I picked
yeah.
Lofty. I picked Lofty because it's awesome.
Okay, either one, it doesn't matter.
But I couldn't have Follow Up Boss without being on a team that has Follow Up Boss. That is weird. And I'm like, that's what I know so well. Why?
Yeah.
Fine. I've heard lots and lots of good things about Lofty, and they give you a free website, and they do all kinds of marketing stuff for you that comes with it. So,
Yeah, I don't just see if they let you share the campaigns because that would be cool. But either way, I think you can probably download a CSV or something of them, and that way people can set their own up. But the follow up is, I mean, the fortunes in the follow up, right? And I think, Amanda, what you're talking about, there's an opportunity there, but you have to stay in communication with them.
Yeah, I'm building my sphere right now in Lofty. I just because I wasn't sure if I was going to be on a team or not a team, so I was kind of stalling. And so I'm like, okay, now that I know I'm just going to do this, I got to get this all my people because I have them all in a Google Sheet. So I'm moving them all over into my Lofty. So I'm working on that right now, and then I'm also working with Tyler and kind of mentoring, and helping him. And he and I are talking about doing a rental thing. So like, and he's hungry for it.
So, Tilly, if somebody wanted to kind of get started in the Section 8 space right now, what would be your like 2 to 3 things that you would tell an agent who um, doesn't have any background, doesn't know where to start? What would they do? Give us a couple, 2 to 3 nuggets of action items they could do.
The number one thing, if they're new and they want to learn Section 8, is I would say do rentals, right? Until we can get a loan officer trained and all that stuff. We figured all that out. And you need to have a search engine. You need a rental search engine. So apartment data services, I don't prefer, but it's inexpensive. I think it's like $35 for the year or something.
Oh,
Now it's going to show the properties that are not as nice and that the less of them pay 100%. Okay. Smart
Okay.
apartment data services is $65 a month, but you only get Houston. Okay. Apartment data service, I think you can get Austin, San Antonio, Dallas. But again, that's going more because with Section 8, you can do anywhere because most of them you don't have to escort. And then you need to start calling apartments. You're going to search for the Section 8 and go to get the tiers of the zip codes. That I would have to teach you how to look at the voucher and look at the zip codes. Okay. Call the apartments, put them in your CRM, right? Make a tag apartment, you know what I mean? With the zip code and that they take Section 8. Make notes where it allows you to make notes. How much they pay if they take Section 8, if you need to escort, what's the minimum credit requirement, Would you take felonies if, or anything like that? You need notes and you need to start creating um, your CRM and have that database of those apartments so it's easier for you. You don't have to always go to that search engine. So you need to do some work. But I'm telling you, if you have 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, start calling apartment complexes. Hi, do you pay realtors or locators? Yes. Do you take Section 8? Yes or no. How much do you pay? 100% for this, 50% for that, or $250. Make a tag, like build out. If you want to build, if you're bored and you don't have a sphere and you want to do rentals, build your sphere of apartments. Make the apartment complexes your sphere. You know,
Will the apartment managers, I mean, are they excited about working with you, or do they care if they pay you, or do
some
they?
do, some don't. It's very varied.
Okay.
For the most part, leasing agents do not like us. The managers do, but the leasing specialists don't like us because we usually make more money than them.
Oh, so go talk to the manager, not the
Yeah,
leasing.
it's going to be hard to get in touch with the manager, the last person to answer. But there is something you can pay for where you can get a list of every regional manager and of every apartment in Texas. But there's resources for us as agents that we can pay for to get lists, or you just start creating it. But as a new agent with no money, you know what I mean? Like, and you have a CRM and you have nothing to do. Start calling apartment complexes and get their information and start creating your little database of apartment complexes and what they take. I can make a list for anybody that's interested of the questions to ask, right? And then create that database. Always make tags because you can run reports on tags, right? So
Do,
go
do
ahead.
apartments ever refer you buyers? Like if
With
they're moving out and
Section 8,
they
yes.
know they want to buy a house, do they ever
So
say
some of
your
my
name?
Section 8 apartments would call me and they would say, "Hey, Tilly, I've got a Section 8 client. Here's their information. Please handle it." Because they didn't know how to do the paperwork. I know how to do the paperwork for housing because that's a whole other monster, is knowing how to do the paperwork. It is not, it's like a contract, but I have them all templates. Like I've created templates for them in my dot loop. So I have them already filled in basically. And I know where to fill in the stuff. But the housing authority is very picky, and if you just miss one little date or something, it gets kicked back. You know what I mean? So, um,
I'm going to
or
open this up for everyone so they can ask you questions because you're just such a wealth of knowledge for this. Does anyone have any questions for Tilly while we have her here?
Make sure there weren't any that we missed either.
sorry, I wasn't looking at the chat.
We asked about loan officers. I did try to find some on ChatGPT. It gave me a list, so I would check ChatGPT for LOs. It did say that Houston Housing Authority is the only one that participates in the like the purchase thing. It's
No,
called
no, nope, nope. Because I just
it's
down, nope.
I
Because
don't mean in the whole state of Texas. I was talking about I think the greater like
no,
our
Harris County takes it too.
okay. Not Section 8. It was the mortgage, the what is it
Homeownership,
called? Yeah,
homeownership.
homeownership voucher.
It's called HCV. Yeah, they do because I just downloaded it yesterday to send to you guys. So they take it.
Okay.
Yeah. Um, Harris County, I'm gonna tell you right now, they're awful to talk to, call, get in touch with, email. It
Okay.
doesn't matter. They do not respond. They give great vouchers. They give way more money than Houston Housing does or Houston Alliance. Rosenberg Housing, love them. I can get in touch with Bridget. She's one of the big girls over there, and see if they do have the home HCV. We gotta go to them or call them. I think the best thing is like if someone lives and there's a housing authority near them, like one of Carol, who yay is now with EXP, not under me. Oh, yeah. But she came back. She it also knows extensive vouchers that she worked with me. She's now with the EXP. She lives down the street from Rosenberg Housing Authority, so I can get her to go and find out about the home ownership program for us there. So, and I live pretty close. Actually, Amanda, I think you live even closer to the Houston Housing Authority. And not that you need to go down there, but I can go down there and get information. And they know me. And I know I know the big people there, but Harris County, I don't have an email, a phone number. I'm gonna have to go there and talk to them. But they do take it. And then they all do things differently. Again, if anybody's really serious about this, it is a lot of work, but you can make money. Like again, I was doing 3 to 5 a day. It's just you got to learn it and have the resources. And then the biggest resource is the MLS and of course some kind of apartment search engine.
I
But they're
think
not.
Yep, it's totally worth it. Like if you wanted to get into new construction, you have to find all of those builders and their inventory and all the off market and meet all the managers and all the people. Like it's the same thing, only this way you can do it from home.
Yep.
It's worth it. That's amazing. Well, thank you, Tilly, for your time today. It's been a wealth of knowledge. We have this recorded. We are so thankful. What is the best way for people to get in touch with you if they did want to maybe reach out to you for mentorship or a training?
Probably just texting me. Here, where's the chat? Okay. Because I work 7 days a week all the time. But I can text pretty much all the time. And that's an easy phone number right there.
That's awesome. Yeah, reach out to Tilly. She is so passionate about helping people. She's always positive and forward thinking, and she's just been awesome to work with. So we're so
And I
thankful.
have questions too, so I need help too with other things.
And she often comes to Coffee and Collaboration, which is the first Wednesday of every month at the Bean and Bottle in Houston off of I-10 and Voss. Is that right?
Tomorrow.
So
Tomorrow.
that's tomorrow. Are you going to be there tomorrow, Tilly?
Yes.
So she's usually there, and so that's another good way to like get face to face with different people that you see. Like Amanda and I are pretty much, Amanda's always there. I'm usually there. Tilly's usually there. So if you want to grab one of us and pick our brain about something, the 9 a.m. first Wednesday of every month, um, come join us.
It's tomorrow, 9 a.m., Bean and Bottle. It's in Memorial. It's so cute, and all of us will be there, and we all collaborate and have coffee, and it's so fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you, Tilly. Thank you, Laura. We do this every
Bye,
Tuesday,
y'all.
so we'll see you next week.
Thanks for letting me do this. Okay, bye.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.